What is SKAI, if I am pronouncing it correctly?
We actually dropped the
Okay.
dot. We're just SKAI now. And essentially what we've built is a solution that allows roofers to start to leverage data in an industry that I think has for a long time lacked clarity when it comes to playing offense rather than defense. We'll assess their market, identify the zip codes, highly densely populated areas that have been hit by storms, and we'll hone in on the right area for them. And we're looking for, somewhere between 5 and 15 square mile land masses. And our drone pilots will capture all of that imagery at scale.
That the best thing about a small startup is that you can tell your client that all these big companies, they have other people to serve as well. They won't care about you, but I will fight for you till my last breath, and I'm gonna die for you. Just hire me and see what I can do for you. And I feel that the connection that we establish with our customers is definitely a leverage as a small business.
Well, I think the one-to-one connection that we have with people, like you touched on, is the key differentiator right now. EagleView is always going to be there to provide the roof measurement reports when the storm comes through. We want to be there to help roofers play offense. We want people to see this as a proactive investment rather than relying on lead generators who may or may not return your phone calls.
Gone are the days when you can sell someone that we're going to do SEO for you, we're going to do social media posts for you. That is secondary thing. I think
we've got a plan right now that's as low as $750 a month that allows you complete and total access to a full zip code captured for you every year. You have access to all of our tools. Let's say you're subscribing to that $750 a month bundle. If you want to charge $9 a month to a homeowner just to say, we're going to keep tabs on your roof, we're going to do quarterly maintenance, we're going to come check out your roof every 3 months. We're going to send you a report every year with a high resolution drone image that they can take directly from our database and give right to that customer. We're going to refly that area every year for you. What happens when the storm rolls through? We get 2.5-inch hail that hits all those properties. You bet your butt those people are going to be lining up to file a claim, right? And guess who has the image proving to the insurance adjuster this roof was in mint condition prior to that hail? You think my homeowner went up and started pounding their roof with a hammer? I strongly doubt that. We're providing a layer of defense for homeowners as well, but also we're making the claims adjustment process for roofers easier. I think where we're heading is that as drones are more and more both commercially available and also available from a consumer level, we're going to see a lax on the restrictions. I think the aerial infrastructure economy is only at its infancy.
What is the accuracy of your current model?
When it comes to RGB, just color imagery, I'd say our model's probably at about 80 to 85% accurate, fully functioning product that I'm happy to send anybody a sample login to. They can go in and essentially test drive the site free of charge. My goodness, it's amazing the gains that we're making in such short amount of time. So being at the forefront of an industry like this, that's kind of what really gets us going.
Hey everyone, welcome to the latest episode of the Roofing Millionaires podcast, the only roofing podcast where we don't promote anyone and we don't sell you anything. In this episode, we are sitting down with Jordan Milkie from JE Show Innovations, and Jordan shares how they are using drone imagery to revolutionize the roofing industry and how you can use that technology to improve the sales and marketing in your roofing business. And since this is the last episode of season 1, I don't think so there could have been any better way to end the season besides to share with you what's coming ahead in terms of technology and how you can leverage that in your roofing business. Do like and subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay tuned for the next season, because that will be packed with even more fun and value specifically for the roofing community. Let's dive in. Good morning, Jordan. Welcome to the Roofing Millionaires podcast. It's a great pleasure to have you on the show today. How are you feeling today and what's going on in your life these days?
Yeah, Muhammad, appreciate you having me on. Feeling great. Just coming off COVID last week. My family caught a bad case of it. We're back to 100% finally in this household. My partner, Anthony, and I, we've been hard at work trying to put together the best software that we possibly can, leveraging drones and AI for roofers specifically. Excited to talk about that
Before
today.
we proceed with our conversation, I want to give a disclaimer to the audience that this isn't any paid promotion or anything like that. And I'm guessing this would be the last podcast of season one. This would be the last episode. So the reason why we are sitting down here today is because Alan recommended me to interview Jordan, and I looked at your solution, and it appeared to me that it is something that should be put up here, that should be showed up to the roofers, and it definitely has some value because your solution, you shared the information with me. I actually liked it, and I think that there are not many services or solutions like that. So I'm interested to know about that. Before that, I think so we should talk a little about who you are and what is your background story, so we just have a context.
Yeah, absolutely. Jordan Milkie, born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I spent about a decade in the healthcare industry, mostly servicing small private podiatry practices. For those who don't know, foot doctors. My father was a foot doctor growing up, still owns his practice to this day. Coming out of college, we started a consulting business, implementing a lot of the strategies that built his practice from the ground up to a $7 million revenue business. We had 5 doctors at 4 different locations. Really learned the world of marketing, learned the world of operations, business development, and a lot of strategy. Over the course of a decade, it was tough to see myself going any further in the feet business. I really wanted to dabble my toes in something new. I've always been passionate about innovation, technology, have been at the forefront and early adopter of the AI movement. And I had a buddy reach out to me. Coincidentally, we met online as well. We were playing video games together probably for about 7 years. He was in the golf industry for a long time and was also kind of at an inflection point in his career and decided that he wanted to make a jump. Went into roofing for a little while and saw people essentially using drones for individual home inspections. It was like, wow, this is really cool. I should maybe try and see if I can do this on a larger scale. He gave me a call probably middle of the summer last year and was like, what do you think about this idea? And for some more context, my extended family has owned and operated a roofing business in Kenosha, Wisconsin for about 70 years now. Dick's Roofing started in 1957. My grandpa built it from the ground up, and my uncle and cousins still operate it to this day. So I've always been on the periphery of the roofing industry, never boots to the ground, but always valued the work that they're providing and know that it's an evergreen industry. You know, people are always going to need roofs above their head. Buildings are always going to need recoats, reseals, and full roof replacements. So when he approached me with this idea, I decided it was probably the right time for me to take a leap in a new direction. And really, we've kind of been hitting the ground running ever since. We bought a drone. We started doing research and development testing. And everything's kind of just blossomed to where we are now.
Thank you so much for sharing that detail with me. Yeah, that is nice to know that you guys know each other for last 7 years, and then your background history into all of this. Especially you are someone who is to the roofing industry, I would say, for all of your life. So you know their issues, you know their language, you know what's their mindset, you know the problems they face. So I think it is easier to build a solution for a market that you already know. You shared the detail of your new company with me, SKAI, in our email, and I read all of that information. But today I am sitting here like I don't know anything about that. So I'm going to ask you questions about that, like the use case scenario of it and everything. But let's just start with what is SKAI, if I am pronouncing it correctly.
We actually dropped the dot. We're just SKAI now. SKAI by J.E. Shaw Innovations. Yeah. And essentially what we've built is a solution that allows roofers to start to leverage data in an industry that I think has for a long time lacked clarity when it comes to playing offense rather than defense. So what we do is we'll take a drone and we're meeting with hundreds and hundreds of contractors right now over the last 5 to 6 months. And all of them are asking us, what are you providing here? So what we'll do is we'll assess their market, identify the zip codes, highly densely populated areas, areas that have been hit by storms, and we'll hone in on the right area for them. What we're looking for is a mix of residential properties and commercial properties. We want to see about a 75% residential, 25% commercial mix. And we're looking for, somewhere between 5 and 15 square mile land masses. And we'll take our drones. We've got pilots that are all over the country. We've got about 1,500 in network thus far. And our drone pilots will capture all of that imagery at scale. Usually it takes about a day or two for those properties to be flown. From there, we've got gigabytes and gigabytes of raw image data, right? What we do is we put that into a custom built AI model that we've been building over the last year that essentially will sort, filter, crop all of that imagery for us and allow our engine to evaluate each property for damage attributes. What we're looking for on residential properties: missing shingles, curling, shifting shingles. We're looking for moss that might be building up. We're looking for branches, leaves. We want to look at the ridges. We want to look at the hips. We want to look at the valleys. Really just trying to get a 360-degree overview of what that roof looks like present day. On the commercial side, we're also flying that land as well. Obviously, commercial buildings are a little bit different. We're looking for water pooling, water staining, discoloration, membrane degradation. We're looking to see if there's any flashing that might be out of place. All of this is being ingested by our AI and evaluated and annotated by our AI. So, 3 days after flight, what we have is a large data set, somewhere between 8,000 and 25,000 properties that we have address information on. We've got parcel attributes, we've got ownership information, and we have our detailed AI damage assessment. And then from there, we upload all of that data into our newly built SKAI platform, which allows our users to interact with that data, sort, filter, and really take action. It's a solution that's really built for contractors to stop playing defense in a oftentimes reactive industry, and really start to play offense.
Okay, so to sum up, I would say that you are taking the data. Like if I am a roofing contractor and I work with you, you guys will take 3 to 4 days or 2 to 3 days. That will be your surveillance time. You will analyze my zip codes and you will analyze the properties around me. Then that drone imagery is going to the data that you already have in your database, and you are comparing that by using your AI system, that what are the damages, what is the difference between a normal property and this property if this has some damages, and then you assign those damage attributes to that property. And that inspection report, like I have 12 homes around me that need a roof inspection because they have some damages, then that report is gonna be landing into my email, or I don't know how you send it, and then I can proceed from there, right?
Correct. Yeah. So all of that data is essentially uploaded to our new platform where users can work directly out of. So you'll have the ability to evaluate your custom flown and exclusive data to you. You'll have the ability to evaluate in a map form so that you can look geospatially at the data. And then you'll also have the ability to sort and filter in it like you would in any dashboard setting. From there, we allow the users to really decide how they want to take action upon that data. There's queuing features that really allow you to get a hyper-targeted list. I can look for all the commercial properties that are presenting with damage attributes and put them into a list that I maybe want to send a mailer to, or have one of my sales team members go out and knock each of those doors and present that image data to the commercial contractor. One of the exceptional ways that we found is a lot of commercial roofers, they're looking for that 4% of roofs that need re-roofs. With this data, it's not just the damage data that they're using. What you have is high resolution imagery on a vast number of commercial properties at scale. Only a small percentage of those properties are going to need immediate repair or replacement. What we think is really cool is you can take that image data to a property that might be in perfect mint condition, and you can approach them from a preferred vendorship standpoint and say, hey, is your current preferred vendor providing you data like this, yearly, biannual drone flights that allow you to understand the condition of your roof so that, that big job can be pushed off. If there's minor maintenance that needs to be taken care of, we're here, we recognize this. We'd love to be the ones that can service your roof. Rather than looking for that big home run $1 million re-roof, we can start to pick off maintenance agreements, get people on 3 to 5 year, 10-year maintenance agreements so that when the time does come for that big replacement, we're the one that they're going to give a call to.
And I think that you have perfectly described the use case scenario of this as well, because at times I am an engineer, by the way, electrical engineer. I have worked with AI and machine learning, but my best friend in the final year project, he worked on something exactly like you are doing, but it wasn't definitely a mass scale project because we had to get our degree. But the problem I found is that most people like us, like technical people, they create a solution, but we cannot relate it to the audience. We know all the technical aspects of it, but we don't relate that to the use case scenario of the product actually to the audience or to the customers. And that's why they feel unrelated or they don't feel the need to get it. And I'm going to come back to the use case scenario of this because I have listed down a few. Before that, I want to ask you, what is the difference between SKAI and the normal service that people are using like Eagle View and other things?
First differentiator is obviously going to be image resolution. Eagle View and Nearmap's other competitors in this space, they're creating their roof measurement reports off of light aircraft or satellite imagery. Most of the ground sampling distance, which is the unit of measurement for pixels essentially in an image they're looking at, is somewhere between 10 and 25 centimeters. In some cases, they can get down to 6 to 8 centimeters. The ground sampling distance on 99% of our imagery is about 1.2 to 1.7 centimeters. So we are really basing everything that we're putting into our AI modeling. We're going to be coming out with roof measurement reports in the near future here. We're basing that off of almost ground truth. We're flying these drones at 250 to 350 feet. In some cases, will be even lower. Critical infrastructure typically goes up to about 150, 180 feet. So we want to stay above that. But we kind of view this as a race to the bottom. We want to be able to capture as low as possible. We want to start developing procedures and protocols that will allow us to identify smaller scale hail. We're talking quarter to half inch hail at scale. That's a really key point for us to get to. I would say quality of image is number one. That is our key separator here. Number two is that we're really looking to build this for what roofers want. You touched on the fact that it's tough from an engineering standpoint to create a solution that is based around a user need. And, we've gone in 17 different directions over the last year. But what brings us back to first principles is constant conversation and contact with the players in the industry rather than what we think is in our company's best interest. All of the features, the bells and whistles, the tools that we're creating are based off of conversations that we've had with key industry players. We've got a lot of relationships with guys that are in the commercial industry, do massive commercial re-roofs. We talk to residential roofers on a daily basis. And one of the most important questions we ask in all those conversations is, what can we build into this for you to bring more value to the table for what you're paying for? Obviously, our solution is in its infancy, but being able to ask that question and, have a residential roofer say, hey, I want the ability to be able to just click on a property and drive to it. I want it to export to my Google Maps and go right there. We can build that feature inside a week. And that's the cool thing about being a lean startup is we've got a lot of opportunity to pivot in directions that really truly provide value for our users. And I just want to touch on one other thing here, Muhammad, is that through all these conversations, we've learned that, large language modeling is really, really difficult to train at scale without having generic outputs. So what we're really building towards, and I touched on this in the outline that I sent over to you, what we want to do is rather than rely on large language learning models, we want to bring in those experts. We're talking to guys like Chad Hedrick in the industry, Cody Klein, tons of residential roofers that view roofing more artistically and who can see what's going on in each of these roofs, whether it's in their geographic location or anywhere for that matter. We want their expertise to shine in what our model outputs. So over the course of it'll probably take a couple years, but we're going to be training our model off of those industry experts. They're going to be evaluating an image speech to text rather training, so that they'll be looking at an image they'll be able to annotate talking just like I'm doing now and relay that information into what the model will ingest and learn off of. We want to get a little bit more artistic with it because those industry experts, they're the people that can see what is wrong with a roof, and we want our model to be able to think like those experts.
And the best thing is that I was listening to Andrew Tate the other day, and I was looking at one of his clip, and he said that the best thing about a small startup is that you can tell your client that all these big companies, they have other people to serve as well. They won't care about you, but I will fight for you till my last breath, and I'm gonna die for you. Just hire me and see what I can do for you. That is a good thing, and the connection that, like, I am a small business too. I work with the specific market too, and I feel that the connection that we establish with our customers is definitely a leverage as a small business. However, you also mentioned about the race to the bottom, like the quality of image. I think so. These big companies like Eagleview, why do you feel they cannot achieve the same quality of image or the same, like you are taking pictures from 100 or 250 feet? So why do you feel, or do you feel that in the first place that they won't be able to achieve the same quality as yours, or what would be your strategy if they do so?
Yeah, I think the one-to-one connection that we have with people, like you touched on, is the key differentiator right now. You know, we're at a place to where when we sign on a client, it's not we sign, deliver the data, and that's the end of the relationship. Being a young startup, we've got to create our own data that shows, you know, Alan in Texas subscribed to our service. We captured 2 zip codes for him, and over the course of his first 6 months, for his minimum investment, let's say he's paying $750 or $1,500 a month, was able to close 2 roofs a month. His return on that investment was $180,000 in revenue and maybe $65,000 in profit. We're working at the ground level with these contractors, not only to provide the data, but implement it into their practice. And I touched on this before, to play offense in an industry that is so reactionary. You know, everyone's worried about when the next storm is coming through, right? Eagleview is always going to be there to provide the roof measurement reports when the storm comes through. I don't think their focus needs to be on capturing imagery at scale, at ground level. I think they're exceptional at what they provide right now. We want to be there to help roofers play offense. We want people to see this as a proactive investment rather than relying on lead generators who may or may not return your phone calls, SEO and marketing specialists, people that, you know, are looking for the people that are searching for the services. Those services they're searching for, it might be somebody that needs 6 shingles replaced. It might be a small leak that needs to be replaced. What we're doing is we're providing the data that allows you to play offense on roofs that not only have damage, but you can kind of pick and choose where you want to close, where you want to focus your efforts. You know, if we come across a 60,000 square foot commercial property that is absolutely run over with mold on top, you know, there's severe membrane degradation, I'm going to put a lot of my resources towards closing that job. You know, I'm not just going to send a guy out there, knock once and say, that's the end of it. I'm probably going to send 2, 3 mailers. I'm going to send a guy out there once a week for the next 4 to 6 weeks. I'm going to use that contact information that we're providing, and I'm going to call that commercial property owner or the network of commercial property owners at least a dozen times, because I know that business is there for the taking. And not only that, I'm providing that person value on something they may or may not be aware of. You know, a lot of times we see people connect with these roofing owners and they're like, oh my God, I had absolutely no idea that this was even happening on my roof. You're showing up with a solution that they didn't even know they had a problem.
Perfect. And you know what? I can sense it that you can, the only leverage, like, or the best thing that your business have, if I conclude this, is that you can ask people, or you can make an environment where roofing contractors are working with you to make this product better. And if you can achieve that kind of connection, I think so no competitor, no Eagleview, even if they land into this, or no company can come near you because you have that connection where roofing contractors own SKAI and they feel that we need to contribute in its growth. The other thing that you said is that it's going to put SEO and lead generators out of business, and I'm thinking about my business now because I own a marketing agency too. However, I see a great opportunity here is that it can integrate with marketing in a way like, for example, you guys have a zip code and now you can tell us that these are the areas you should be targeting in your Facebook ads. Now, what's going to happen when the door knocker is going to go knock on that door? The homeowner has already seen the company in their field, in their mobile, in their emails or around them. So they are familiar with this company and the chances of conversion can improve a lot because number one, we are targeting the areas in our ads that already have the damage. Number two, we are building familiarity with the homeowners. Number three, we are sending mailers and door knocker. When he goes there or when she goes there, the homeowner already knows about you, and in their mind, you have pre-framed them that this is what's going wrong and this is the solution. And when you show up with that, that's a win-win.
That's exactly right. Let me preface this with I have coached basketball for the last decade. I view this as offensive and defensive, right? Our solution is the offense. This is where you're plotting your attack. This is where I'm trying to get to the basket. I'm trying to get into the end zone. I'm targeting these properties. I'm running my playbook on them. That lead generation side, the marketing, SEO side, where you're trying to stay top of mind, that's the defensive side. That's the low-hanging fruit, right? That is how you build that rapport over time with homeowners who may or may not know that they need your service currently. What we're trying to do is provide that supplemental offense that allows you to hyper target that person that you may have already popped up on their Facebook feed 5 to 7 times. They may be aware of the proper problem on their roof and have searched, roofers near me on Google. It all works together exactly as you described. And as we get contractors that come in, they start with their first zip code, and then they're starting to move to, capturing 2 to 3 zip codes every 3 months, and then 5 to 7 zip codes every, 6 months. All of that stuff is going to work together because you're only expanding the data that you can play offense with alongside the marketing efforts and SEO efforts that you're putting out online. It works together online and offline. I love that association.
Thank you. And I feel that even my business or any marketing business, we need to adapt because what I feel is that now gone are the days when you can sell someone that we're going to do SEO for you, we're going to do social media posts for you. That is secondary thing. I think the people miss the connections now. And if a marketer knows that how I can build an offer, how I can connect this business to the audience, and by leveraging tools like SKAI, by leveraging tools like Facebook ads, by leveraging tools like SEO, Google ads, or whatever, I think that is the future of marketing as well. And you really inspired me or made me excited by this approach that you shared, offensive and defensive approach in business. Tell me more about that because this is something that I'm hearing for the first time.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's especially applicable to roofing, right? You're playing two sides of the ball here. Number one, as a roofer, your job is to deliver exceptional service to the clients that you serve, right? That has to be your number one priority. I have to have that warranty. I have to have installation security. I need to be confident that my team, my crews, my salespeople, my receptionists, everybody's performing exceptional work. Coming from the healthcare industry where service is so important, you have to have that personal touch with your patients. That translates into roofing too. You need to be able to provide that exceptional customer service and deliver and execute exceptionally, right? That being said, we're running a business here. You got to be able to feed your bottom line. Roofing is so unique to where there is the reactionary side of roofing. We are at the will of insurance companies. We are at the will of our lead forms being filled out, our phone ringing, people clicking on our Facebook ads, and obviously storms rolling through the area. That's your defensive. That's your reactionary side. And you need to have all of your dominoes, your ducks in a row to be able to capitalize when the storm rolls through so that your phone rings and people are clicking on your Facebook ads, right? I live in Wisconsin. We get severe weather, March, April, May, a little bit throughout the summer. We're heading into a more stormy season here, end of August into early September, where, I'm going to see a tornado warning probably a couple Sundays throughout the next few months. All of that roofers need to be prepared for, right? You head into places like Arizona, like Colorado, desert, um, some of the eastern seaboard where that weather isn't necessarily always going to be hitting. You've got your hurricane season. That's only 2-3 months. You've got, a rainy season in Arizona. We want to be the solution for when the weather isn't moving the way that you want it to. When your Facebook ads aren't necessarily landing, the offensive part of this is that you're taking the control and putting it back into your hands. I don't have to be 100% reliant on Muhammad and his lead generation team for me when things are going poorly, because I have SKAI that's going to identify the opportunities for me. They're going to fly 20, 30,000 properties. Law of averages said we're going to find at least 5 to 7% of properties that have some sort of damage that we can target right now. If we're dry and our phone's not ringing, we need to be proactive and play offense towards that 5 to 7%. And when you're talking about 20,000 properties, what's that? 5% is 1,000 properties right there. Go out and close 5, 7 of them. Allocate a salesman, allocate a few $100 to run a mailer, or, do an email campaign to these people. Reach out proactively, offense, to try and spark your business. Because as that happens, you close one of those roofs in those neighborhoods, right? You get to put your sign up in that front yard, and the person across the street and the people driving by that property, they're going to start to see your name. When you're top of mind, they may not call you directly from that sign, but they might, 6, 9 months down the road when there's a leak in that back room, they're going to go online and search roofer near me. They're going to associate that directly with what your team's doing, putting up that strong SEO and marketing presence. Your offense turns back into your defense. Your proactive nature, going out and seeking that business, will force people to have you top of mind as they search once again. It's cyclical.
Amazing. I agree with you on every single thing that you said. And the other thing that you mentioned is that you talked about the preparation of reports, and I would call that like the history. I think your doctor knows your history. My doctor knows mine. And if we change the doctor,
Sure.
we have this uncertainty that if we are going to have the right diagnosis or not, because he does not have our history. The same way, when you show up at a door and you have the history there, I think that's going to build a load of credibility as well. And maybe because I've seen some roofers who are making these membership programs for the homeowners that are monthly or yearly based, I think that can link directly with the SKAI as well. Like SKAI is charging, I think in your email you mentioned $3,000 per month, and I don't know if you have a lower plan or a higher plan, but if they are paying you this amount, and then at the same time they are getting recurring revenue from the homeowners as well, because obviously the roofer, XYZ roofer or whoever it is, they are keeping the data of that roof into their database, so that definitely costs something, and your solution costs as well. So if they are charging something recurring from the homeowners, I think that becomes a great justification as well. Because the other day I was talking to someone and he told me that this subscription based model for roofing industry is not a good fit. But I think if a solution like that is developed where you are providing them value and the homeowners are getting value, I think it can relate with the subscription based model too, maybe.
Absolutely. I kind of see that in a really interesting way, because we've got a plan right now that's as low as $750 a month that allows you complete and total access to a full zip code captured for you every year. You have access to all of our tools as we continue to build in more, measurement reports, proposal generators, estimators, direct mail campaigns that can be done directly from our website. You'll have access to all of that stuff at the costs that we list. Let's say you're subscribing to that $750 a month bundle, right? You've got data on about 10,000 properties. If you want to charge, let's say $9 a month to a homeowner, just to say, hey, we're going to keep tabs on your roof. We're going to do quarterly maintenance. We're going to come check out your roof every 3 months. We're going to send you a report every year with a high resolution drone image that they can take directly from our database and give right to that customer if they want. You're charging that $9 a month. What do you need? 75 of those 10,000 people just for you to break even on that? Now you've got all that imagery. We're going to refly that area every year for you, or a new area for you every year. Beyond that, what happens when the storm rolls through? We get 2.5-inch hail that hits all those properties. You bet your butt those people are going to be lining up to file a claim, right? And guess who has the image proving to the insurance adjuster this roof was in mint condition prior to that hail? They can't play any funny business. You know exactly for a fact, April 1st, we took that drone image, storm rolled through May 3rd, whatever it is. I've got a 33-day window. Do you think my homeowner went up and started pounding their roof with a hammer? I strongly doubt that. We're providing a layer of defense for homeowners as well, but also we're making the claims adjustment process for roofers easier, especially if their imagery is pre-storm. And we do have options for people to fly on demand after a storm if they want to hit an area. We're priced extremely fairly in the market per acre. You're usually going to see somewhere between $3 and $30 per acre. At our base level package per acre, you can fly it for $1. And let's say we got a really condensed space where there was 2-inch hail and it hit 500 acres for $500. You're going to have all that data that homeowners have truly never seen before, and you're going to be a welcome sight when you knock on that door.
I agree. And you know what? I feel that this is a great thing for insurance as well, because this is something that can rule out the games that insurance play, because you have the data. And just like you said, that you have the pictures already. So you know that the roof was in mint condition before the storm. So the damage has been caused by storm. Jordan, I believe that every business, like every single business in this universe, cannot serve every single person he or she it wants to target. So obviously there will be roofers who won't work with SKAI, or there will be roofers who will love SKAI, or there will be roofers who will say it's kind of average. And we have all kind of customers out there. So the question I have, Jordan, is who is your ideal customer? Like, I don't want the revenue or something. Like, describe it like a story, like what's going on in the life of your ideal roofing contractor. Like, what are the problems he is facing, or if you have to define this like a story, so the person who is watching or listening to this show can relate it with themselves. How would you describe your ideal roofing contractor?
That's a really good question. I think we've kind of got two target ICPs, people that we really, really feel that we can serve exceptionally well. The first would be just a project manager, somebody that's working for a roofing company. Most likely that roofing company is making somewhere between $5 and $15 million in revenue, right? The project manager is reliant on themselves for all the leads that they generate. They manage the life cycle of each project that they undertake. Oftentimes those people are going to pay lead generators for appointments, right? They might have a few sales team members that they're working with. Most of what they're doing is a lot of storm chasing. They have the ability to service both the residential and commercial markets. Commercial can be a little bit more difficult for those people to break into. Those are the people that we really feel that we can serve exceptionally well. For just $750 a month, which is typically 4 appointments that they'd normally be paying for on average. We're able to fly 10,000, 12,000 properties for those people. We're going to be able to identify probably somewhere between 500 and 700 really, really strong opportunities for them. And when their business that, sometimes they're going to provide them some leads. They're going to say, hey, we got this place that we need you to go stop by. Your best to close the business. One thing I forgot to mention is most of the time these guys are going to be working close to commission only, 100%, if not closer to 90%. So we've got, we're providing them 500, 700, in some cases up to 1,000 really, really strong opportunities. Most of the time it's going to be broken down about 80% residential to about 20% commercial. 20% of 500 properties on commercial, we're giving you 100 commercial properties that you can go ahead and absolutely devote some time to. If you can get the ball rolling and close 2 to 3 of these residential properties and you've got some inbound money, you can afford a few extra hours a week to go out and really, really hone in and try and land that big kahuna. If you can close just one of those commercial properties, right? And we're talking, let's say it's 40, 50,000 square foot roof, the margins on those and the total revenue on a job like that are going to be astronomical. That person's going to pay not only for their SKAI subscription for the year, they're probably going to want to fly 3 to 5 more zip codes and take their family on a nice vacation. And it's not about calling more and more and more and random outreach. It's about hyper specific targeting. I know that specific place that has the damage. I know what I can do for them. I know I have a great solution for them. I just got to go get in front of that person. We're giving them that opportunity to truly understand where it is. We're able to provide that contact information, the phone, the email. We're going to be able to help with mailers. Maybe a one-off project manager is not built to be able to send 200-300 direct mail flyers directly from our platform. We're going to be building in the ability for a one-click direct mailer program, and you can customize that template however you want it to look. You can say that, this is, I'm Jordan, I'm with XYZ Roofing. It's built for you. So that's the number one ICP that we're trying to serve here, is those project managers that we want to put the data in their hands and make, turn them into offensive players rather than defensive players. That's number one. Number two would probably be the leaders of those businesses. We're talking, for example, my uncle, they're doing somewhere between 8 and 10 million. They've got a few project managers. They've got some sales representatives. They've probably got 5 to 7 crews. Also servicing mostly residential, but they want to dabble into commercial as well. There's great margins in their big groups. Who doesn't want to dabble? They're groups that, they've got good marketing. They're strong in their presence in their local area. They're probably servicing not a major metropolitan market, but a larger one, probably the 5th to 10th largest city in a state, but they want more. They're looking to take that leap from 10 to 20, 25 million. They want to expand geographically. They want to expand the profiles. They might want to start using some more materials that are more energy efficient. They might want to bring on a few more crews that are more specialized in commercial roofing. We allow them to target those opportunities outside of where their pipeline is being fed. Most of those people, they're crushing it in their locale. But, just using Wisconsin as an example, I want to move from Milwaukee and I want to get into Mequon. I want to get out into Waukesha. I want to move down into Franklin. We're talking 30, 40 miles in each direction. We go fly a zip code for those people in 3 or 4 different locations. We're starting that trend to where, you can start putting those Facebook ads in those external areas while your team is knocking and calling and mailing and emailing all those properties that that even the contractors that are dominant in those areas, they don't know that these properties have damage and need to be serviced. You're getting yourself a leg up in the expansion market. So for people that are looking to grow and, maybe become a little bit more attractive for private equity, or just get into that next territory so they can open that next office and start to bring on and employ more people, that's probably the other group that we are exceptionally built for.
And I think that you are going in the right direction. And I think if I am doing this, these are the exact 2 people I would like to target as well. Jordan, since you know tech, I know tech a little bit. We have a lot of AI solutions right now in the market, not just for roofing, like overall, we are just having this AI gold rush, like everyone wants to get into this AI. And even using ChatGPT 5, like I was using ChatGPT 5, and the claims they made in the presentation, ChatGPT 5 isn't that much accurate. I'm using that, and I even read a book, Empire of AI, that covers all this AI gold rush and how this impacts human minds and how they are leveraging the urge of human beings to try something new into getting more customers for their business. They are using just that urge of human beings to try something new. The question for you is, Jordan, what are the problems that you have faced till date? Obviously, you cannot predict the future, but what are the problems that you have faced till date with SKAI? And the reason I'm asking this question to you is because we can have soft conversations here. But if I ask you questions that make it difficult for you, I think maybe as a business owner can come up with framing ideas and with better solutions for your customers. And that will be a lot of value for the people that you are trying to serve as well. Obviously, we have problems. So, yeah, so that's what I want to know. Like, how much confident are you, and what are the problems that you have faced till date with SKAI?
Absolutely. That's a great question. I would say first and foremost, finding the exact reason for contractors to take the leap into trying to leverage data within their business. I think what we've found is that uh, we've come close to solving that problem by truly just asking them, what features do you want? What puts this over the edge for you to be a product that you're willing to take a chance on? And having all those conversations, asking those tough questions in meetings where I'm sitting there and I know I am not closing this business right now, but I'm for sure going to get my money's worth and figure out what would put this person over the edge. Taking those smaller sample size of 5 to 700 roofers that we've talked to, knowing that there's 50 to 70,000 roofers, we're gleaning a ton of exceptional information from those people, and they have helped shaped the direction that we're heading to. On a more technical side, one of the really difficult things that we've struggled with is just those mega roofs, like 100,000 plus square foot roofs are huge. We're talking Amazon shipping facilities, warehouses, even skyscrapers. They're 700-800 feet in the air. Like, it's really tough to get a drone up there and maintain signal on the thing, running into airspace regulations, closer to a lot of those larger facilities, where we need to be able to provide that to, a lot of people we're talking to are commercial only focused contractors. And if we can't say to them, hey, I can get you this 200,000 square foot mega roof, I can get you the data, the imagery, the ownership of contact information all in one, I'm not providing a ton of value to them outside of, the 50 to 70,000 square foot buildings that we're capturing. So building a solution to be able to, you're never going to fit a building that large into one singular image. Being able to create the mini solution that allows the contractor to extract the pertinent information that they need, allowing our model to evaluate across multiple images, but still recognize that it's the same address. That has been a challenge. We're 9 months into this. We finally feel like we've got the solution, and our dev team is going to help us build that. Tackling challenges like that is difficult in an industry like this. We're kind of on the cutting edge of using these tools that allow us to make life easier. I use ChatGPT every day. I'm using a bunch of different AI tools that haven't been built, and all of them run into challenges. When you're talking about scaling an AI product, it's hard to make it perfect for every single person that's going to use it, which is why we kind of harken back to that core principle of ask the user what they want. And even if it's a feature that only one person is going to use throughout the entire platform, I can say with confidence I've provided person value. On a greater note with AI, I think a lot of what we're doing here, all of this stuff is going to eventually be niched down. You're going to have a lot of conversations with ChatGPT on a larger level, but a lot of the solutions that we'll have with AI are going to be specific use cases. I built a lot of our platform with no code tools, and that's something that I would have never had the ability to do even a year ago. But we're taking machine learning and artificial intelligence and putting it into the hands of ideators and really allowing them to take over on the technical side, which
And
I think
thank you
is
so
really
much,
cool.
by the way, for being honest up front and telling me about the problems that you are facing. And do you feel that you will be able to live up to or fulfill this promise that you are making with the customer, that if any single one person or one customer of yours wants something specific, you will build that for them? Like, if you are working with a large number of customers, don't you think that this promise itself will become difficult to fulfill for you?
Yeah, I think when you're subject to new information, your opinion can change. Right now, we're in a space to where, we're only servicing a dozen clients or so. And if one of them came to me and said, I really, really want this feature, I'm going to make that a priority. If we're servicing 2,000 clients across the country, is that going to be more of a difficult conversation? Absolutely. Absolutely. If it's a feature that we feel that could be scaled across the entire user base and continue to provide value for them, I think that's absolutely something that we'll take under our wing. As every business grows, you run into new opportunities. I'd like to think that over time, as we're bringing on our 15th and our 25th customer, we'll still be able to fulfill that promise. Will it be at the speed that I'm promising right now, where I can get something done for you inside a week? Most likely not. But it's inevitable that, if we do expand and continue this growth trajectory that will allow us to service contractors across the country, we will inevitably run into a challenge of, yes, we'd love to add this for you. We'll do it in our next code sprint, which could be 6 weeks, it could be 12 weeks, it could be 6 months.
I can sense a load of positivity from you, and I really wish you the best with SKAI. I have 2 or 3 questions more for you. The first one is that you mentioned about
Please.
the laws and regulations as well. I feel that some states have some, I haven't read them, but maybe I'm wrong, you can correct me, that some states have these laws about drones, like whether you can fly them or not. That is the current situation. Let's just say 2 or 3 years from now, government just passes a law that regulates these drone usage. Do you think that that is a possibility that you feel can happen in the coming future? Or if it happens, how are you going to deal with that?
That's a great question. I really think, obviously, we're early in this space. A lot of the pilots that we've spoken to over the past year have been ex-military. They've been people that have been flying really fancy, cool drones since before they were even commercially available. So they've got a lot of experience in understanding the development of the space. For example, like right now, the state of Texas, we can't really capture at scale there because of privacy laws. The surveillance, it's viewed as surveillance, and if we were to take a picture of private property or any person, there's a hefty fine per image. And on average, our flights were taking somewhere between 3,000 and 10,000 images. So we'd be looking at a multi-million-dollar fine there. Obviously, that prohibits us from working significantly in the state of Texas. We can do one-off property inspections and some commercial publicly owned land. That's more reasonable. But you look at a state like Wisconsin, I don't know the airspace directly above my head. And I don't see that changing anytime in the near future. I think where we're heading is that as drones are more and more both commercially available and also available from a consumer level, we're going to see a lax on the restrictions. I think the aerial infrastructure economy is only at its infancy. I'm aware of a couple of startups that are kind of trying to build with the current administration. I know that there are people trying to push more beyond visual line of sight, which essentially says that I am licensed to and able to fly my drone where I can't see it because I'm equipped and licensed to be able to do so. I have the skill set that allows me to do that. So not only do I think that the laws are going to be a little bit more lax when it comes to unmanned aircraft, I think they're actually going to allow us to accelerate in our capture. I think they're going to be able to allow those exceptional pilots that we've got in our network to not only work with fewer restrictions, but far more efficiently, so that those 2 to 3 day captures, when we're talking about 25 square miles of land, they might be able to turn into a single day if my pilot's got the battery life. And when we get into the thermal side, we're doing research that we're trying to figure out ways that we're able to capture on the thermal side at non-optimal hours. Obviously, right now it's best to capture at dawn and dusk. To be able to understand what's going on a property. I think with those less stringent restrictions, we'll be able to do some stronger, more efficient testing that allows us to understand, where do we see diminishing returns when it comes to capturing on the thermal side. We've got a lot of cool stuff in the pipeline when it comes to other capture methodologies. We're not necessarily going to be bound by drones, although we want it to be our main mode of capture. We're not opposed to using light aircraft eventually if we're able to capture at larger and more efficient scale with those. But that being said, with the race to the bottom, we want to stay as low to the ground as we possibly can. I can't get into too much detail on this side. This is proprietary information, but we're looking at different capture methodologies and waivers that we want to do some lobbying for that would allow some of our extremely skilled pilots to start to do some really, really cool stuff.
And the good thing about that is, Jordan, that you are already looking at in the direction that things might change in the future. So you are incorporating more ways to capture the information. And I really like the thermal capturing thing that you are working on. Speaking speaking of that, you also mentioned that the best time to capture is like dawn and dusk, and I think so that is good. What is the accuracy of your current model, or what is the accuracy criteria? Because I'm sure that you guys have a accuracy criteria that if it reaches to this level, if 90%, 95%, or 99% accuracy, then we're going to launch it for the consumers. So what is that criteria, and how far behind are you right now to in terms of reaching to your desired accuracy criteria?
Yeah, when it comes to RGB, just color imagery, I'd say our model's probably at about 80 to 85% accurate. We're trained off of an initial data set of about 25,000, 30,000 properties. We want that number to be closer to the 95, 97% accuracy. I think the fallback, though, is it's really nice that we're not just advertising, this is what our AI says, take it for what it's worth. We're also putting the image on the website. So if a contractor thinks there's some contradiction, we're going to build in the tools that allow them to say, hey, this property was marked as minor damage. There's nothing on this. That's going to allow our model to, we'll feed that back into the engine, allow the model to understand that it was misrepresented, and it will improve over time. We've captured well over 150,000 properties now, and we're starting to do some more expert level training on that model, which will only continue to improve our accuracy. But ultimately, we are putting the final say in the hands of a contractor. We could have our model say, this property says that there's severe damage, severe water discoloration, severe membrane degradation, sun damage, whatever. And if they look at it and they don't agree, they don't have to approach that property. It's totally, totally up to them. There might come a time where the model says something and an insurance adjuster disagrees with that. And, that's where you kind of get into a gray area where it's insurance versus AI. I don't know who ends up winning that battle, probably the insurance company, but that's kind of neither here nor there. When you get to the thermal side, we're still deep in research and development on that side. Our model does not ingest thermal imagery right now. Our main focus is thermal capture at scale, which is kind of why I talked about that non-peak, non-optimal flight methodology. The way that we capture with our just RGB drones right now, we want to be able to try and do that at scale with thermal imaging as well. Is it going to be a huge separator when it comes to the residential roofing side? Probably not. But when you get into the commercial side, if somebody can show up at the door with a red, green, blue RGB image, as well as that thermal layer, and say, not only do I see water pooling and degradation in these areas, my thermal image is showing that you're losing heat here, here, and here. I have the perfect energy efficient product that's not only going to make your roof look spectacular, I'm also going to be able to save you 15 to 20% on your energy bill. That's a pretty frictionless sale right there. Most commercial property owners are going to be interested in at least having you walk and hearing what you have to say on that front.
Next question I have for you, Jordan, is that you really shared some great information with me. And if anyone who is watching or listening to this and they're thinking, oh, these guys are just 80 to 85% accurate, I want to tell you that training these AI models takes loads and loads of data, and 85% accuracy is amazing. And if you can pull it up to 95% or even 90%, I think that can be a game changer. The suggestion I have for you here is that I read you can maybe implement the reinforcement learning by human feedback into your system. The customers who are using your system, they can train the AI model into getting better as well. Maybe that can be something that you can work in the future too.
Absolutely. That's going to be a huge portion of it. Ultimately, we want to be able to say our model is not just what we think or what the base boxed model that we're training off of thinks. We want it to be industry expertise, both on the commercial and residential side. We want geographical expertise. A roof in Maine is far different from a roof in Arizona. Not only that, but we want our users to be able to provide that feedback. Our early adopters, the people that are on with us right now, they're telling us, in some cases, they'll send me a roof. Dude, this is not a severely damaged property. It's actually just an empty plot of land. It's like, okay, our model needs to be able to differentiate. Obviously, we're doing some parcel mapping here. It thinks that this bundle of trees is a roof. we need to fix that. And, as we reach a more critical mass of users, when we've got 50 to 75 contractors, we can not only say that we're trained off of industry experts, but we're trained off of users just like you, roofers that are identifying, evaluating those problems. They're contributing to the overall success of the cohesive cohort here. Everyone's contributions leads to a greater end product and allows that model to truly shine and truly identify those like actually hidden opportunities that we might
And
not
I
be
think
readily
that
aware
goes
of.
hand in hand by the approach that you want to create, or that we discussed back in the interview, that if you can create something where you can create a feel good emotion for roofers, you can create a feeling that they are helping the community by giving feedback to your product or your service. I think that can be a really positive thing both for your customers and for your company and for the roofing community overall. So my last question to you, Jordan, is that do you guys offer
Absolutely.
any kind of testing or free trial or something, that if a roofer wants to explore your product, or do you have something that they can try out for just 1 or 2 days maybe? Do you have something like that, or do you plan to create something like that?
Yeah. So because we're capturing proprietary data that's on demand and exclusive for all of our subscribers, anything that people purchase will be theirs and theirs only. It's kind of tough to give them a snippet of what it would look like in their market. What we do have is we've got a fully functioning product that I'm happy to send anybody a sample login to. They can go in and essentially test drive the site free of charge. You can look at 3 zip codes that we captured in the state of Arizona that we've got all of our data in on. We've got a vast variety of flat roofs, shingled roofs, commercial properties. The only thing that we lack there is a lot of metal roofs. For some reason in Arizona, there's not a lot of metal roofs, or in those specific areas that we've captured, there's not a lot of. As we move into the central region and kind of the Rust Belt areas, there's more metal roofs. We're starting training on those, but we found that it's pretty easy to pick up damage on those properties. Yeah, and you can kind of see the full life cycle of how you would work with the data. We're delivering that data from time of capture to data delivery and availability. Usually we're looking at like 3 weeks on the high end. In some cases, we can get it in there. If we've got a pilot directly in their area, we'll fly, process, deliver 5 to 7 business days, and they can start tooling around with their own data. But for now, you can sort and filter however you want in our test account. Look at the properties, see what the imagery looks like, look at the data that we're providing right now. We're only going to be adding more and more third-party data, essentially contact information, ownership information, more detail when it comes to the specific building itself. You can look at the queue functionality. Right now we're built to allow users to, if I want to segment out a commercial roof that needs just a maintenance program, I can put that into its own queue and focus on that group on its own. If I want to look for storm damaged properties, I know there's a storm date. I can go in and look at moderate and severely damaged properties, queue all, say, 300 properties of those up, and I can start driving to those locations. We're going to be adding more and more features when it comes to contact enrichment. We've got a couple relationships in both the commercial and residential space where we kind of want to let the user decide what contacts they want to enrich, because there is a cost associated with that. We want them to feel confident in the data that they're enriching on that front. I had talked about the mailers where we're going to be at a one-click integration where you can select a group of, let's say, 50 commercial properties you want to get on that maintenance agreement. You can send them a specific mailer that's catered towards becoming their preferred vendor. We're working with variable printing companies that allow you to even put the image that we have directly onto that mailer, which I think is just phenomenal. I mean, how cool would that look if a commercial property owner gets a mailer that not only is named and addressed directly to them, but it's got the picture of their roof right on the mailer. We're built to allow people to test drive how they can use it. They just really won't be able to evaluate data from their own territory until they're ready to sign on. But we've got an intro level package, $750 a month. We'll fly their first zip code, and we're going to put boots to the ground. We want to work directly with our early adopters right now to be able to write that case study that, we got a guy signed on in Illinois, and over his first 4 months, he was able to generate, 15 proposals, 6 of them closed. That's in some cases, $75,000, $80,000 in revenue. That's paying for your whole year of our service instantaneously. And then from there, maybe they want to reinvest in some more capture. And like I said, everything that you capture is exclusive to you.
I really enjoyed having this conversation with you. You gave some nice answers and to the point answers to all my questions. And I think so this has a lot of potential of becoming something that can actually be valuable to roofers. And pardon me for this. I am turning my last question into my second last question. So my last question to you is, what inspires you to wake up every single morning and work for this cause?
Yeah, that's a philosophical question, I think. I got a young daughter and a wife and a dog and a house and a mortgage, and obviously we want
Mhm.
to be financially stable. What really is driving me right now is just the possibility of the industry that we're in. Drones, technology, artificial intelligence, this is a space that is making exponential leaps in 6 months, whereas most tech products take 6 years in their life cycle. It's kind of mesmerizing to think about where we'll be at in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months with the capabilities that we're seeing just from, take
Yes.
ChatGPT. They're
Three or
putting out
four
a new
months.
model
Yes.
every about 6 months, and we're looking at Claude and with these no code tools, I'm using Claude, and my goodness, it's amazing the gains that we're making in such short amount of time. So being at the forefront of an industry like this that's able to transition the gains that we're seeing on the tech side into an evergreen industry like roofing that is always going to be commercially viable. That's kind of what really gets us going. And being able to provide proprietary, new cutting edge data to roofers that are truly doing work that matters to people is really, really cool. And we've got some high aspirations to venture into other spaces, the energy efficiency industry. We want to be, friendly with insurance companies because there's kind of a double-edged sword there where we can help roofers close more jobs when it comes to an insurance claim, but there's also ways that we can use this data to prevent waste, fraud, and abuse with insurance companies. We want to get to the point where we can assist government agencies in disaster response. We can fly our drones and help evaluate the direction
Right.
of a California wildfire, or do immediate disaster planning after a hurricane hits in Florida. The possibilities when you're creating this sort of data are endless, but we think it's really important to get to the roofing vertical first because we feel that we provide the most value to this industry as a whole
Awesome.
immediately.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Jordan. And if there's anything I can do to support your mission, I would love to do. And if someone is watching this video or listening to this podcast in audio version, if I am a roofing contractor and you are in front of me, I will definitely use SKAI. And even though this wasn't like, I tried not to ask any promotional questions because I did not want this conversation to be like a promotional conversation. I tried to stay genuine and I tried to ask questions that a roofing contractor would ask you if you are presenting your product in front of them. So I think I tried to be as much as valuable as I can, and I hope the audience enjoys this conversation too. Is there anything else that you will like to share, or any advice or anything at the end of this conversation?
Yeah, I would just say I hope roofers are willing to take a shot on this. I think it's a cool, innovative new way that a legacy industry can start to adapt. And, we're making great strides right now. See what data can do for your business is really the overarching goal here. We've got a really low barrier to entry. You can test things out for 3 months, and if you end up not closing a job after 3 months, you bet your butt we're going to be standing there trying to figure out why, and we're going to be hands-on trying to help people generate that return that they've invested into this cutting edge product. And like we said before, anybody that joins on and can help us train this model is really going to be contributing to the community as a whole, which I think is really, really cool opportunity. If anybody wants to check us out, jeshawinnovations.com. You can really just see what we're all about, how we do things. Feel free to shoot me an email, check me out on Facebook, and I'll be happy to give anybody a sample login so they can truly test drive what they'll be working on. And lastly, we're adding new features almost on a daily basis, if not a weekly basis. We'd love to hear feedback on what people want to see integrated into this platform.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time, Jordan. It was a pleasure having you on the show today. And I wish the best for all of what you are doing and what your future plans are. And I hope that the remaining months of 2025 and the coming years are filled with blessings for your daughter and your personal life, your family, your people around, and the people you are working for. Thank you so much once again. Have a great day.
Muhammad, really, really appreciate you having me on. Thank you so much. This was awesome.